My girlfriend, Emily, expressed that she needed some space and asked me not to contact her for a while. Despite feeling hurt, I respected her wishes and decided to give her the space she requested. During this time, she posted vacation photos with her ex, which added to my confusion. In order to honor her request for space, I changed the locks and sold her car that was in my name. When she returned, she found that her key no longer worked and her parking space was empty. It was a difficult situation for both of us, and I had to make some decisions to protect myself while also giving her the space she asked for. He had requested space, which I respected. I spent a couple of days mopping around the apartment, feeling confused and hurt, pondering the complexities of the situation. Work was a welcome distraction during this time. However, on Friday night, feeling bored, I was scrolling through Instagram when I came across a post where a mutual friend had tagged Emily. The photos showed a scene of bright sunshine, beach cocktails, and Emily looking extremely happy while arm in arm with Jordan, her ex-boyfriend who she had claimed was history. The caption reads something like living our best lives on an island getaway, reunited. My heart sank as I realized that the space she had requested was actually a tropical vacation with her ex-boyfriend. This revelation made me see things clearly. She didn't just need space. She wanted me out of the picture so she could rekindle her old relationship, keeping me as a backup plan in my own home. All the while using my resources and insisting on no contact. Fine. If that's what she wants, then so be it. The next morning, I wasted no time in calling a locksmith to change the locks. I secured my apartment door by locking both the deadbolt and the knob lock, which cost approximately $250. This expense was well worth it for the peace of mind, as it rendered her key useless. As for the car, the backstory is important. About 6 months ago, Emily's unreliable old car broke down, and she needed a dependable vehicle for her job in social media marketing, which involved frequent client meetings. However, due to her less than perfect credit, she had difficulty obtaining the car. I stepped in to help by purchasing a used but high-quality Mazda CX-5 for around $18,000. Importantly, the loan, title, and insurance were all under my name solely. The understanding was that Emily would make payments to me, which she mostly did, and she used the car as if it were her own. Nevertheless, legally speaking, the car belonged entirely to me, as I never added her to the title or insurance. Recently, I took the spare key, which I always held on to, and drove the car to a reputable dealership that specializes in buying used cars. I provided a brief explanation of the situation, the need to sell and the registered owner, and they conducted a preliminary assessment, offering an initial fair market value of around $16,500. This estimate was subject to a thorough inspection and title verification, to which I agreed. I went ahead and completed the initial paperwork to kickstart the process. I was informed that it would take a few business days to finish the inspection, finalize the offer, and manage the title transfer. After leaving my car there, I took an Uber back home. When I arrived at the apartment complex, I noticed that her designated parking spot was empty, and her belongings were untouched in the spare room closet. While I considered removing her stuff, I decided against it as it seemed petty. Knowing she had requested not to engage with me, I made sure she couldn't re-enter my apartment without a conversation. Despite feeling hurt and foolish, my actions were driven more by reason than anger. She had sought space and no contact, and her actions, vacationing with her ex, made it clear that the relationship was over. So I was merely honoring her wishes while safeguarding my assets and home. Now I am in a state of waiting. According to her Instagram posts, her vacation seems to be continuing for another week. I wonder what will happen when she returns and finds that her key no longer works. Update. She has returned. Showtime. Last Tuesday evening around 9 p.m. I, Ryan, 30 M, was simply watching TV, attempting to distract myself from the knot in my stomach. Suddenly, I heard keys jingling outside the door, followed by the sound of a key scraping in the lock. There was a moment of silence, then more urgent scraping, culminating in loud pounding. Knock, knock, knock. Ryan, what's happening? Came Emily's voice, more annoyed than panicked at that point. After taking a deep breath, I cautiously opened the door just a crack, leaving the chain secured. Emily stood there with her suitcase, looking both suntanned and upset. My key isn't working. Did something happen to the lock? She inquired. I changed the locks, I replied calmly, maintaining a composed tone. You what? Why would you do that? She questioned, clearly taken aback. I asked for space and no contact, Emily. I respected that by giving you permanent space, I explained. What do you mean? I just needed some time. You can't just lock me out, she protested. I noticed the vacation photos with Jordan. Seems like you two sorted things out, I remarked, observing her shift from annoyance to fury licks with a hint of panic. Cut Emily. That trip meant nothing. We're just friends, she insisted with raised eyebrows. Friends who go on. Romantic island getaways were planned while asking her current boyfriend for some space. Got it, Ryan? Stop acting ridiculous. I need to get in. My belongings are in there. Where did my car go? She glanced around to find the parking spot empty. Ryan, where's my car? Her entitled attitude was palpable, as if she expected everything to be at her disposal. First of all, this is my place. And secondly, that was never your car. It's registered in my name, and I'm in the process of selling it. It's currently at the dealership. Her jaw dropped in disbelief. You're selling it? Can't do that? I paid for that car. You only made payments to me for using it, Emily. You didn't purchase it. The car's title and loan are under my name. The selling process has already begun. This is insane. You're stealing from me. I'm calling the police, she threatened, grabbing her phone. I just shrugged. Go ahead, call him. Explain to them that your ex-boyfriend changed the locks to his own apartment after you requested no contact and went on a trip with another ex. Tell them he's selling his car, which is legally his. She hesitated, phone halfway to her ear, then her expression turned sour. Emily, you planned this, didn't you? You scheduled a vacation with your ex and requested my silence. I complied with your wishes and faced the consequences. Don't need to keep me waiting in my own home. Suddenly, her sister Brooke, 26F, who must have been waiting in the car downstairs, marched up the walkway. Brooke, what's going on with Emily? Why is she locked out? She asked in a tearful voice, claiming that Ryan changed the locks, is selling her car, and is kicking her out, with Brooke seemingly taking Ryan's side. Are you serious? After all she's done for you, you're just going to kick her out and sell her things? Brooke exclaimed, It's my apartment and my car. Emily responded defensively. She asked for no contact and went on vacation with Jordan. Check her Instagram, we're done here. Brooke defended Emily, saying she needed space and they should support her instead of punishing her. Support her cheating on me? No thanks. She made her choice, now she can live with it, Emily retorted. At 9:00 p.m., Emily started insisting on retrieving her belongings immediately. I explained that it was not possible that night and suggested organizing a time for her to collect her items. I requested she send me a text with a specific date and time for the pickup. I mentioned that the items would be boxed up near the door, and that she would only be allowed in the entryway, as I set the rules in my apartment. Despite Emily expressing a desire for no contact, this was the new arrangement. I advised her to text me with a suitable time and bid her goodbye. After managing to shut the door and secure the deadbolt, I felt a mix of emotions, including adrenaline, anger, and relief that the confrontation had come to an end. I heard them outside for a few more minutes, with Emily raising her voice and Brooke attempting to calm her down while unintentionally adding fuel to the situation. Eventually, they departed. Later on, I received a text not from Emily, but from Brooke's phone, demanding that Emily's belongings be ready for pickup the next day at 10:00 a.m. There was a lack of courtesy in the message, simply a strict instruction. I replied with an acknowledgement of the request. I then spent the following hours gathering Emily's belongings, packing up her clothes, toiletries, books, and other personal items. As I piled everything near the door, it felt like a cathartic process. The dealership contacted me later in the week, possibly on Thursday, to inform me that the inspection had been completed. The final offer of $16,350 was confirmed, with a slight adjustment made for tire wear. I went to the dealership on Friday afternoon, signed the necessary paperwork for the title transfer, and received the check, which I promptly deposited. It felt like closing a costly and emotionally exhausting chapter. As I prepared for pickup day the following day, I anticipated more potential drama. Update 2. The past week has been eventful. The individual's sense of entitlement seems to be escalating continually, almost impressively so. The pickup was scheduled for 10:00 a.m. on Wednesday. As noted in the previous update, there was a knock at the door, but it wasn't Emily. It was Brooke and their mother, Karen. Emily remained in the car, supposedly too upset to meet me. Karen wasted no time in confronting me, tears in her eyes. I had a hunch they might be insincere. Karen accused me of betraying Emily after 2 years of a supposedly loving relationship. According to Karen, Emily couldn't understand why I would go on vacation with my ex while also asking for space. I explained that it was a mistake and that Emily seemed confused. Karen's reaction was interrupted, leaving the conversation unfinished. I should forgive her and not sell her car. That was a cruel act, as she needs it for work. Although the car legally belongs to me, Karen's confusion led to her betrayal of our relationship. Actions have consequences. However, I have decided not to sell the car. Please see the boxes piled up at the entryway. Here is all of her belongings. Please make sure you take everything, as this will be the only opportunity. We don't need to check the closets or the bathroom. I have packed all her belongings that I could find. You will not be allowed any further into my apartment. Let's be reasonable, Ryan. If anything was missed, then that's unfortunate. Stand here and I'll stand here. Please take the boxes and that will be the end of it. They seemed to want to argue further, but I stood firm, and they eventually began to haul the boxes out. It took them 3 trips, all while Karen kept up a continuous monologue about how heartless I was and how devastated Emily must be. I stood there as she insisted I owed her compensation for the car, not engaging much as I reiterated that it was my car. She continued repeating her demands and threats like a broken record, both financially and through a smear campaign. After they left, the barrage of texts began, mainly from Emily. The messages shifted between tearful apologies, expressing regret and wanting me back, and then angry demands claiming I owed her money for the car and threatening legal action. I chose to ignore the emotional pleas and responded once to clarify that the car was legally mine, with all documentation in my name, including the title, loan, and insurance. I explained that her contributions were considered payment for the period she used the car, akin to renting. I ended the conversation there and locked her number along with Brooke and Karen. However, the situation didn't end there. Mutual friends, mostly connected through Emily, started reaching out to me with accusatory tones, insinuating that I had wronged her by selling the car callously. It was evident that she was spreading a distorted version of events, casting me as the heartless villain in the story. I kicked her out and vindictively took her car, conveniently omitting the vacation with Jordan part. I'm certain I mentioned the situation briefly in her message. The ex-vacation and the fact that the car legally belongs to me to a few people. I hope they would understand. The feedback was mixed. Some grasped the situation, while others seemed to have been swayed by her version of events. Ultimately, people will believe what they want. It was a sly attempt at manipulation. Then I received a call from my landlord's office yesterday. They informed me that an anonymous complaint had been made about recent disturbances and noisy arguments near my unit. The complaint alleged shouting and expressed concerns about potential confrontations. I felt the chill run down my spine. It seemed calculated, like an attempt to cause problems for me. Luckily, I have a good relationship with the building manager. I calmly explained that my ex-girlfriend, who had been living here without being on the lease, had recently moved out after our breakup. There was a brief loud argument when she realized I had changed the locks following her request for no contact and subsequent departure. Following a brief visit from her family to collect her belongings under supervision, there have been no disruptions in my unit as she no longer resides here. The manager acknowledged the situation and assured that unless there are additional valid complaints or disturbances, no action would be taken. It appears that Emily or Brooke may have been seeking to cause trouble, which is disappointing. Furthermore, I received a message request from Jordan on Instagram, which I promptly deleted and blocked as I have no interest in engaging with him. Their entitled behavior and deceitful actions only confirm my decision and do not make me feel guilty, but rather justified. This is not just an isolated mistake by Emily, but a reflection of her true character, as well as those enabling her such as Brooke and Karen. There is no elaborate revenge plan. It's simply allowing them to face the consequences of their actions. My apartment remains secure. Lisa is in my care. The complaint led nowhere. The car has been sold and financial matters have been taken care of. My account is secure legally, but her belongings are gone and all communication channels are blocked. Any future contact attempts, especially threats, will be handled by my lawyer with a cease and desist. I consulted with a lawyer briefly, and they confirmed my solid position regarding the car and apartment. Dealing with constant demands, victim narratives, and attempts to disrupt my housing is disappointing. The belief that bullying and manipulation will restore the previous comfortable setup is mistaken. Emily's explosive behavior won't change the outcome. Now I am focused on emotionally cleaning up the mess. It's challenging to realize the deceit and entitlement of someone I lived with and cared about, but it's better to know now. It has been approximately 2 months since Emily returned from her space-seeking trip with Jordan. The situation has mostly calmed down because I chose not to engage in the drama. To provide a final update, the smear campaign has continued. I'm a bit lost. A few superficial mutual friends who bought Emily's sob story. Honestly, good riddance. Anyone who takes her side without hearing the full story isn't someone I need in my life. Anyway, my real friends, the ones who knew me before Emily, were solid. They heard my side, saw the blatant disrespect, and supported me 100%. Emily apparently tried to escalate things legally, sort of. I'd had a vaguely threatening letter from some budget lawyer she must have scraped funds together for, demanding $10,000 for the value of her contributions to the car and emotional distress. It was full of typos and legal nonsense. My response had the lawyer I consulted send back a very formal, very concise letter. It included copies of the car title, loan agreement, and insurance policy, all solely to my name. A reminder that her contributions are for usage depreciation during the time she drove it, essentially rent, and she actually owed money if calculated per mile based on standard rates. A bluff, but made the point. Hope this helps. I need some space right now. Please refrain from contacting me. I have evidence in the form of text screen grabs of vacation photos with Jordan, publicly timestamped posts, and a warning that any further baseless accusations or harassment will result in legal action, including seeking reimbursement for legal fees and requesting a restraining order due to past incidents with my landlord. I will not engage further after this point. It seems that Emily's lawyer advised her that she had no viable case and dropped her, as she likely couldn't afford a proper legal battle without my financial support. According to a friend with limited contact with one of Emily's acquaintances, after our fallout, Emily stayed with Brooke for a while, leading to significant tension because Emily expected Brooke to financially support her and refused to contribute. Predictably, Jordan disappeared once the vacation ended and the real world beckoned. He was not interested in a long-term relationship with someone who brought drama and expected others to take care of her. That was the end of that chapter. Raisha apparently tried guilt-tripping her parents, caring for money, probably with some success, but they couldn't bankroll her old lifestyle indefinitely. Last I heard, she had to move back to her hometown, living with her parents again. She's apparently complaining constantly about how unfair life is and how I ruined everything for her. Zero self-awareness, zero remorse, just pure uncut entitlement and victim mentality. The best part? The sweet, sweet sound of silence. No more demands, no more drama, no more Emily. My apartment feels like mine again. I actually repainted the living room last weekend, got rid of some of the furniture she picked out. Reclaiming the space feels good. The revenge wasn't loud or explosive. It was quiet and methodical. It was simply respecting her request for no contact and letting the logical consequences of her actions play out fully. She wanted space. She got an infinite amount of it. She prioritized a fling with her ex. She got to deal with the fallout alone. She took my support. After taking the apartment and car for granted, she quickly found herself losing everything once she broke the trust that held it all together. Watching her sell the car she believed was hers, the very symbol of her status, while she relaxed with another man. I'll admit, that moment brought a sense of satisfaction. The sight of the empty parking space upon her return, it was like a perfectly executed move. The consequences hit her hard and were impossible to ignore. She didn't just lose a boyfriend, she lost a privileged life she thought she was entitled to, all thanks to my support. Although it was emotionally taxing and required time to process the betrayal, I kept the logical approach. I prioritized my well-being and refused to be manipulated. She underestimated my ability to see through her games and manipulate me into doing her bidding. She faced the harsh, direct repercussions of her own choices, without her sense of entitlement to shield her. This outcome was the most satisfying part of the entire ordeal. Farewell to Emily. It's time to truly move forward.